Good evening and welcome to March 21st episode of Agent Paranormal here on the Disruption Network. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are going to do our second episode of Agent Paranormal Academy remote learning.
Yay!
And we are going to start working on visuals tonight. So I am joined in the studio by Rich, Chris, and Travis, one of our newest members.
Paranoob.
Paranoob.
We're coining that. Don't take that. That's ours.
Copyright.
All right, so visuals in paranormal investigation. So, what do you guys think of when you think of visuals?
Don't have the answer at the same time.
Radio silence. That what we
Radio
think of.
silence, yes.
Well, Kevin, I'm glad you asked. Visuals. So, I guess I'll get this party started. As Pink said in one of her awesome songs. So visuals. Visuals are a big part of quantifying the paranormal, actually going further from findings to actual evidence. Sometimes a picture is worth a million words. You can do an investigation. You can say, oh, I felt this, or I saw that, or I heard this. But when you capture a photograph of it or you capture a video of it, it speaks volumes. Well, it used to. Now people, hey, that's me on the Stevie screen. Wow. Yeah, huh? So now what happens is that people start to go through what you provide them, video or photograph, and the first thing they do is they want to look at it, review it, and dismiss things like matrixing or lighting or a shadow from somebody or a person in the background or whatever have you. And that's fine, because whenever we get a piece of evidence that's visual, we want it critiqued. We want people to basically tell us that they buy in on that what we found is real, or basically if they think it could be something that's just there in the environment, it's there. Because we don't like, oh my God, I got a picture of a ghost. I mean, there are sometimes photos or videos that you get, like someone at one of our events brought their camera up to me, and I actually took a photograph of the back of the screen, and it was taken in the dark at the Rucker Mansion on the second floor in a room that was pitch black. And he took a picture and showed it to me. Mansion number 1.
Okay.
Sorry, I keep clearing my throat here. I think it's the water Todd gave us here. What is this? Nestle Pure Life. Snailed. Is this snailed? So, anyways, there was 3 faces looking out of the door. I mean, unless you had a MacBook Pro with you and you sat down there in the other room when no one was looking and Photoshopped that, there was just no way. I mean, it was 3 distinct faces. An old person, one looked like a child, and one looked like something a little bit more on the kind of hideous side. So, I mean, things like that, Mm-hmm. But, of course, you pass that around, people will dismiss it. And that's fine, We don't have anything to prove to anyone else other than the experiences that we have, other than the people that we do the investigations for, when we have to provide them with some findings or evidence to either debunk or prove their claim. So that's kind of my whole essay, if you will, on visuals. Now, when we investigate, a lot of times we have camera equipment, video equipment, photography equipment, and we kind of use that more of advanced techniques for capturing evidence. When you really start going into paranormal, and people are like, hey, I want to do, ghost hunting or paranormal investigations. What do I need? What kind of equipment do I need? I usually tell them to start out with something basic. Obviously always have a flashlight. Having an audio recorder. You can get a simple, cheap one at Staples or Best Buy or Walmart. And get maybe a K2. A lot of this stuff you can get at eBay, Amazon. Just a couple simple pieces of equipment. Don't go crazy and spend a lot of money. Because I know some of those portals out there, like 6. Wow. Okay, you must have went out and spent a lot of money, because you're right away. Hands are up in the air. What are you trying to say? You got to do what Pete tells his wife. It was only $20.
Yes.
He comes with the Ghostbuster car. It's like, oh, it was only $20, Candy.
$500 later.
So start simple, cheap, and smart. And get into it and see if you have any success in it. Before you go out and buying ovuluses and portals and, video cameras like this thing here, start simple. And then basically, because a lot of people get involved in things and then they just kind of get bored with it. Because let's face it, paranormal investigation isn't exciting at all. I mean, there's a lot of times we're like been there like 4 hours and there's nothing happening.
Yep.
But we're there. These people need help, so we got to continue to push on and see if we get something. Then if we have kind of a crazy night and we think we've got some stuff, then we have to go back and sit in a dark room at home for 4 or 5 hours and listen to the audio and look at the video. So there's a lot of time we have to put into it, So that's why I say keep it simple. Buy some simple stuff when you start out. But then if you're like, this is what I want to do. I'm with a good group like these Agent Paranormal guys. Those guys are awesome. They rock.
They are.
They
They're
like
pretty cool.
Quiet Riot. That's how cool they are.
They're
right?
okay.
No, what? How did you get in the group? Anyways.
I voted myself in.
It must have been when we were talking about Twisted Sister, and you're a big Twisted Sister fan.
Yep.
Okay, that's when it was.
Come on, D. Snyder's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I met him once. He's cool.
Did he actually file his teeth down to points?
I'm not sure.
Or is that just like a little denture thing he put in?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't remember really staring at his teeth when I met him.
What were you staring at?
Open your mouth.
Chris, what are you looking at, my friend? So anyways, tonight we want to talk about the video stuff. So
yeah, full video, photo, anything visual, anything hands-on stuff. We talked about audio last week. We did get into some of the visual stuff, but
A little bit, yeah.
everybody wants, as you're saying, they want photos, they want videos, what we call the holy grail shots.
they want proof. They want to basically, they want to be convinced, even if they are a skeptic, they want to be changed. They want to be converted, and they want to believe.
Yeah.
You just got to give them some. I mean, there's a lot of people that we've come across, Kevin, along our way, investigating. People that are skeptical, and then we showed them something, and they're like, whoa.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, their whole world turned. And all of a sudden,
Yep.
And I remember, were you with us when we did the Shops at the Finish Line? We had the weather guy up there. There was a weather guy from a local TV station. It wasn't WKTV.
Okay.
There's a guy from a local TV station, and he's like, oh, I love this paranormal stuff. Love this stuff. I go to all these locations, and I follow this stuff. I watch the TV shows. It's so cool. Great. This is going to be cool. Why don't you come investigate with us? Oh, I'd love to. So we're sitting up on the second floor. Got a nice cozy little spot. Spirit box is going, and we're talking. Someone comes back through and says hello or help us or something. And I said, can you tell me the name of the person sitting next to me? And they're like, Jeff. I turn around, look at him. He gets up. I'm done. Left. Never saw him again.
He gone.
I'm like, hey, I thought you loved this stuff. That's what you live for. That was it, man. He was done. I actually emailed him a couple times after that because he gave me his card, and I've never heard from him. So
It is a little eerie, though, when you're sitting there, especially being new, and you say something like that, and all of a sudden my name comes across.
Mm-hmm.
It throws you off a little bit because you're not expecting it.
Makes you a little uncomfortable sometimes, I mean, I've had it the first time he had to me, I was like, did that just say my name?
Yeah.
So he was like, and then you're hoping, that's what it sounded like.
Until he says
And then
your last name.
And then some of your chords and plays it back and emails you the clip, and you're like, Rich. Damn.
I mean, okay, let's jump back a little bit in history here. So you're talking about people wanting to believe. They want to believe in the paranormal. They want to see something.
Mhm.
So early 1900s, belief in the paranormal was right around like 25-35% of people.
Not very high.
It very, very low compared to today, which is right around, I think, 65-68% of the population believes in some kind
some
of
form.
paranormal, which is huge.
Do you think the TV shows had a lot to do with that?
The TV shows did have a lot to do with it, but that was a spike time because it was right around 2000 when the TV shows were first starting.
Yeah.
Nope.
Belief was right around like 50 or 51%.
Okay.
So after the TV shows, it jumped another, 18%.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Sure.
So
But that has a lot to do with what you're talking about today with the visual.
yeah, well, visual, definitely. I mean, it was really, the spiritual movement was in high swing during, the early 1900s.
Yeah.
Even in the 1920s, just so you see a little bit more uptick of belief in the paranormal and stuff. But you also had like Harry Houdini, who was going around trying to disprove all these psychics and mediums and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the big thing that really started getting people to believe, it was a spike in the 1930s. And internationally, it was 1937. And the reason is this right here. This is a Life magazine from 1937. And the reason that this one is the one that really caused the uptick is inside is the first internationally posted photo of a ghost. And that's the ghost of Raynham Hall, the brown lady of Raynham Hall.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So this was the first internationally posted photo. So everybody saw it. And right around that time is when everything really jumped. Everyone's like, holy crap, ghosts are real. They have a picture of it. Look at it.
Yeah.
That was originally taken by a photographer. He'd like to be called the Captain. I don't know what his actual name was. He was the photographer, but he didn't take the picture. His assistant took the picture because they were sent by Country Life magazine. And Raynham Hall's in the UK. So they sent him out because they wanted him to go into these old structures and take pictures of the old wood carving structure inside and everything real nice and beautiful. So they were setting up a shot with the staircase in Raynham Hall. And his assistant started freaking out and said, there's a woman coming down the stairs. And the captain's like, what? There's nothing coming down the stairs. He's like, no, there's a woman walking down the stairs right now. And the captain goes, if there's a woman walking down the stairs, take the picture. So he took the picture, and that's what we got, was the ghost of Raynham Hall. It looks like a woman in a shroud coming down the stairs.
It's interesting that most of most of the paranormal pictures that we've seen that are iconic were never really taken by paranormal investigators. They're just kind of randomly taken by somebody. You know, that's like they were just there and happened to be in the picture. But now when you go to like YouTube and I don't know, Wikipedia, whatever your poison is, you see so much stuff about the paranormal. And you have to take a grain of salt with it all because somebody of this younger generation is so good with Photoshop and things like that. Yeah. Most stuff can just be, just hacked and thrown on there. So, as much as you want to believe it's real, the way I look at it is I always look at it and think, okay, that's real. I'm going to kind of disprove it, which is kind of different because like when you come to like being arrested, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Yeah. Where I look at it, it's like, okay, that's real. Now I'm going to try to debunk it. Unless I know the source. Unless I look at the source and it's like, someone that I'm just not trustworthy to begin with, then I just basically dismiss it. But when somebody sends me something, I always look at it, okay, this is real. Now I'm going to try to debunk it. Instead of thinking, that's not real. Now I'm going to try to think of why it's real. So that's kind of how I look at it. Because I think when people bring us evidence, that we should be respectful to that and hear them out and understand what's going on. And then basically try to dismiss it and I've told them, so listen, I'll take a look at it. Very interesting looking. It could be something paranormal, but I always, as an investigator, I want to look at it and see if I can find an explanation that's non-paranormal for it. Yep. And they're usually pretty cool with that. They're like, no way, that's a ghost. Damn it. Don't ever call me again. Click. They're not like that.
I mean, I've come across a lot of people, especially when we go to cons, people come up to us. They always have like at least 3 or 4 paranormal groups. So everyone likes to take their evidence that they've captured. Orbs are a huge one.
Please talk about that.
There was actually one that I had at Scaricon. There was a couple that came up to me and showed me a picture on their phone, and they're like, "Look at this. This is definitely an orb." I'm like, "Why would you say that's an orb? Just enlighten me on why you would think that." And he said, "Well, look at it." I'm like, okay. He goes, "It's so bright and pure." I'm like, okay. And he said, "And look, it's square." Okay, and this is where my education comes in. I'm a graphic designer, so I'm well educated in Photoshop, Illustrator, anything you can do to fix it to make it look like there's a ghost. Oh, yeah. I'm also a videographer. I know how to edit, so I know how to edit a ghost in. So that helps me when it comes to debunking. Is I'll look at it and I'll watch for little clips that you might be able to see and say, listen, okay, on the side there, you could see that it just appeared out of nowhere, but it was a sharp line. So that tells me somebody edited it in. But I was also a photographer. For cell phone cameras, he took it with his cell phone. Most lenses are circular. That's why you're going to get orbs. Orbs are lights that are out of focus or something was lit up that was out of focus. And it's mimicking the shape of the lens.
Like bokeh, right?
Yeah. So for the camera that he used, was his cell phone, those lenses are pixels. They're square. So when he got that orb, he actually just caught something else that took the shape of the lens of the camera, which was a pixel, a square.
Yep.
And I like to use a lot of stuff like that when we're debunking. Like lenses are such a cool thing because you can put like a little like cutout star over the top of it, and all of your orbs will be the shape of stars then.
Yeah.
And it's like, look at this orb.
Yeah, it's
Orbs are very difficult. There's a lot of people that bring them to us, whether it's in video or photo. For us, it's hard to say it's an orb unless we're seeing it with your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to take a photo of an orb, you got to be seeing it with your eyes when you're taking the photo. If you come to me and say, this is a picture of an orb, did you see it? Well, no, it was after I took the picture. Was your flash on? Yes. I can't tell you it's an orb then.
Yeah.
well, digital photography is a wonderful thing, and it's made a lot of people into photographers who would probably not be photographers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to the old film days. But the one thing is that when you're in rooms that are brightly lit or not brightly lit, and you're taking pictures, in a lot of these older locations, there's dust.
We don't go
moisture.
ghost hunting in brand new
Right.
locations.
So I've did one in a brand new building, and Chris Moon used to tell me, he goes and he said, you need to change your perspective on what you're thinking about the paranormal. You're thinking that the paranormal is an old creepy place where people died and it's tragedy and stuff. I'm like, well, yeah. He goes, no, it's not necessarily the building, it's the land. Something happened on this land. Therefore,
Yeah.
you could put up a brand new mall, and something could be there because of the land. I'm like, okay. So I've always kind of remembered that, but
The poltergeist theory.
Well, yes.
right.
Yes.
But essentially,
You moved the gravestones. You didn't move the
right.
graves.
Poltergeist was like, it was a sci-fi horror movie.
Yeah.
But, when you're talking to someone who's been actually investigating for a number of years and they kind of concur with that statement, unless he just watched Poltergeist and called me up and said, hey, Rich, it's actually the land,
Listen, Rich, it's land.
It's the land, man. I'm telling you, man. Trusted source here. Trusted source.
I got this story about this, house builder, and he built this house on this land. No,
But
it wasn't a movie.
But it's actually not that uncommon of a thing out in the West because they're building all these places, and I mean, there's so much more of Indian tribes and Native Americans out there, and they're basically building on these places, and it's not that uncommon a thing compared to where we are. But yes, going back to what you're talking about orbs, a lot of times, I mean, I remember doing an investigation. I think it was in Morrisville, in a theater, and people were going, "Oh my God, look, you're like doing your spirit box thing, and all these dots appeared. They're orbs." And I go, hold on a second. So I went and I punched the beam that was above my head. Boom, because it's dusty down there. Take another picture. And all of a sudden the whole thing was orbs. I go, it's dust. It's dust. Because remember, light, your camera just manipulates light.
Mm-hmm.
The camera is sophisticated, but all it's doing is just playing with light.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It doesn't recognize shapes. It recognizes light. And then basically that's how the sensor responds. So, that's all it is. And then Pete always tells this story about Fuji, right? The Fuji cameras that came out, the digital ones where wedding photographers were buying them, and they were shooting weddings, and all these orbs were in the pictures. And, people were getting sued, by bridezillas and stuff like that. And they end up suing like Fuji and everything as the story goes. I mean, I haven't researched it enough, but that's what Pete was telling me before. So it's kind of almost like an inherent thing when it comes to digital cameras and our cell phone cameras. But photography is just a small part of it.
Yeah.
The real big whale that we want,
Video.
the Moby Dick, is video. I mean, we want to see something moving, looking at us, turning its head, putting its hand.
We have shown some videos we captured before on some of our previous shows. So if you want to go back and watch them, the St. Johnsville case episode has a very good one. Just a jump back quick to the photography and orbs. For all of our viewers, if you come up to us into a con, don't think we're just going to blow you off and say it's not real. I mean, we will look at it, and we're going to try and do our best to try and show you where we come at from that angle. There's been quite a few times that all of us have actually said, you might have something, because I can't tell you what it is.
Yeah, and of course but honestly, they want us to give them the truth.
Yep.
And we will give them full explanation, tell them why. So that's pretty much it.
So I'm going to pull up the first piece of equipment, and that is a Nikon digital camera.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I'm pulling this up is this is what I use for investigating. I like doing still photography when I'm doing investigations, but I also like to do video. So this shoots in HDMI, and it can capture a lot of decent evidence.
Yeah.
So we're going to pop
I got
on
the
over
same.
to Chris.
I got something similar.
The US, yeah.
Yeah, just mine's Canon. Same thing. Shoots 1080i video, but very good in photography as well.
What Canon is that?
This one's a little bit older. This is T3i.
Still good camera.
Good camera. Love this camera.
I've got one of
Amazing.
those. You got the 5300 or the 5200?
52.
That's a good camera too.
Yeah, 50.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I tell people they're like, "What should I get for a camera, Rich?" They're all good. Just figure out what it is you want to use it for
Yeah.
first. Then buy a camera off that. You can't really go wrong if you buy a Panasonic, a Canon, a
No.
Nikon, a Sony. They're
I'll tell
all
you what,
good.
if I could use my 35 millimeter film and have somebody that can actually
Develop
Yeah.
develop it,
Yeah.
I would still use that.
It's a bigger sensor.
Yeah.
You know, that's why the full sensor, full frame cameras are the equivalent size of 35 millimeter film. So if you had an old Canon 35 millimeter camera and you're going to replicate that with going to a digital camera, then you need to buy a full frame.
Yep.
Most of the cameras, like the one Chris had and the one you have, and the ones I have, are all what they call crop sensor.
Yep.
So the sensors
Yeah.
are smaller,
Yep.
which is fine. It doesn't take away from the quality of the picture. It's just that the full frame gives you more in the view, so
Yes.
that you can play around and edit, with stuff later on. But
Yeah.
I mean, any camera is great. The only thing that I do suggest is if you're not going to use a DSLR like this that has the manual zoom, then don't use the zoom, because if you have a camera that has a digital zoom, that's going to affect the quality
Oh,
of your
it
photo.
pixelates everything.
Yeah.
it digitizes
Yeah.
the magnification, which is ingenious. And when you look at it, sometimes you're like, "Oh, that looks really good." Then when you snap a shot, you're like, "Oh, that looks like terrible."
Yeah.
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 And that's pretty much what the cell phones, iPhones and Androids do. They
Yep.
pretty much digital up to. I
Yeah.
think they have a little bit of an actual
The,
zoom.
the newer ones have a little bit of the
Right.
zoom.
Yeah.
Like I think mine will go up to like 2 or 3 times now
Well, this one
before
here,
digital.
this Canon here, has got like a 20x zoom, I believe. So I mean, actual real zoom, which
Yes.
I find in any kind of building that we're doing any filming, a 20x is
It's going to be
Plenty.
more than enough. Yeah.
plenty. You know, I mean, it's like what am I going to do with 100 zoom in someone's house? I mean,
Is
it's-
that
Yeah.
also the one with infrared
Yeah.
night vision?
yeah. You want me to talk a little about
Yeah,
light
go for it.
spectrums? Okay, so when we go in and we do video work, a lot of times we do it in the dark, pretty much. So I mean, in the best
Do it in the
circumstances.
dark with the big D.
The best circumstances, we can bring in any camera, DSLR, mirrorless, or video camera with bright lights and get perfect imaging. But we don't. We do it in the dark. So we have to be kind of recognize the 3 different light spectrums. We have the infrared,
Yep.
we have the ultraviolet, and we have the visible light spectrums. Those are the 3 spectrums that make up light. Now, normally, visible light is what you use to do most of your photography and your video. Then you move into what's considered to be the ultraviolet light, and then into infrared. Now, infrared's great because in a completely pitch black environment, you can still get nice, clear images with infrared. What people understand is you still need a light, like a flash.
Yes.
You need an infrared light. So it's like people are like, "Oh, I got an infrared camera," and turn it on, I can't see anything, because you still need a light source that's basically putting out infrared light.
Well,
Chris has actually
Yep.
got one right there. So those
I got one here. This camera's a little bit smaller than yours. This
Not
is still
about the
infrared.
size.
This is more if you're looking for an affordable first time.
Yeah.
But what I did is I put 2 stronger infrared lights on it, because usually the infrared that comes with the cameras are very weak. It's like
Yeah,
one.
it's just a small little
small
LED
one.
bulb or something. It's
Um,
just a little bit.
So I put the 2 infrared on.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily use them both at the same time, depending on the room, just as a
Right.
backup. But I could see all the way across this entire building
Mm-hmm.
with this little tiny camera.
And that's really what
You know.
a lot of us do. Like this is one I bought on Amazon. This is like an insignia. I think is like a brand that's sold at Best Buy.
Okay.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
the bottom line. But this
Yep.
is actually a full spectrum camera. So I've used this quite a bit. So it doesn't have to be terribly expensive. If you get into doing video work, you don't necessarily have to go out and buy an expensive camera.
I think this was $170. Is an SJ Cam full spectrum.
It is
action
full
camera.
spectrum.
Yes.
Okay, good.
This one is. This
So
one's just
pick it
regular.
up
Just
with
got to
the
lift it
camera.
up.
Pardon?
There you go.
Showcase it. This is like
Yes.
QVC.
It's your Vanna White moment.
So this is a full spectrum action camera. It takes full spectrum
Yep.
video and stills if you want to. This is just a regular GoPro, so I play them side by side, so I can always have something going. But I mean, for $170, I think this one was.
Yeah.
You know, very affordable, and you know, it takes
Some of those places like Go Stop or what are those
Yeah.
type places websites sell those, and they're usually
Yes.
pretty fairly
Yeah, they're
inexpensive.
very inexpensive. Yeah, and you can clip it on just like a GoPro. It takes all the same mounts, so you can put it on your hat, put it on a chesty rig, or just I have just a regular little handle for it that I use. So
Or you can just
It's
be like
nice
a-
though that you can use those without having to hold them. You can clip them on something, so you got your hands free to do other things.
With your equipment.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what's great about those is that you get those IR flood panels you can buy. Again, they're a little more expensive side.
You're gonna put that on your head too?
No, you put it on
your
like
chest.
you put it on like something like a mic stand or tripod, and you can pretty much flood the room with infrared. In something like this is an infrared light that I bought from like one of the ghost places. Now it's off, but when you turn it on,
Other way. There you go.
but when you turn it on, I don't know if you can see it. The red LEDs have a small small red glow to them.
Yeah.
That's all you're going to see from this.
You have it
But
on
when
or
you turn
no?
the lights off,
the cameras won't pick up the red.
right. But when you turn all the lights in this room, you'll faintly see this, but you turn an infrared camera on and the whole room will be illuminated. Now, there's two different types of scales or coloring for infrared. There's the greenish hue we've seen on many of the paranormal shows, which, I don't know. I mean, it's okay.
It's okay.
But the gray hue is the one I like, which some of the other paranormal shows do. I think it's a little bit more. It just looks better. I think it's a little bit
Looks
more
better.
crisper. You know, I like the imagery a little bit better.
Definitely.
So that's what we use. This Canon camera here, this AX11, this thing has got built-in infrared. And what's interesting about this, I mean, this is a really nice, expensive camera. It really is. This is for pretty much professional videography and everything. We use it for the paranormal investigating because of the infrared capabilities and the fact that we can actually put two memory cards in here. We can duplicate the memory cards or use them like A then B. So record A fills up, go to B. But what's nice about it is we can either go to the green or we can go to the actual gray infrared. And we also have, the phantom power for the mics and everything. So we can put a mic on this and we can become even more sensitive than the smaller mics on some of the GoPros and
Yeah.
cameras like these. So this is really kind of when you're really going to go into it and you get up to that level. These are the kind of devices that you go for, these higher end Canons. But quite honestly, it's not necessary unless you really want to do a lot more videography work in the dark. The stuff that you guys have and the small one I have here is perfect for like doing investigations.
Yeah.
When you're trying to capture evidence.
Yeah, Travis bringing up the GoPros and everything. Those are really great because the cameras we have are bulky. They're handheld. You need to hold those up. You have to, point and shoot where you're going. GoPros, you can set them on your hat. You can put them on your chest. Whatever you want to do. You could do a reaction cam if you want. Turn around on you. But I mean, that's always running.
Yeah.
And you still have free hands to do everything else.
Yes.
How many times have you been investigating where you got a camera like this and you look over and you're like, I just saw something. Imagine if you had it like mounted and you were like following your head and you saw something.
Exactly.
Yeah. What those things are for is great.
And the only other thing that you could have that would be better than that, and we don't have anything to show tonight, is a DVR system already pre-set up.
And in our old group used to have one of those, but became cumbersome to set them up and run the cables, and nobody, after being scared out of their mind after doing a successful ghost event, wanted to go up to the creepy areas and
Chris,
go
go
get
in
the
the basement.
camera.
Go in the basement and get that camera.
But to continue on what Travis got here, he's the one that brought up the full spectrum. This is actually a full spectrum light. And again, in order to go full spectrum, you need a full spectrum light, or else you're not going to see it. So here's the full spectrum. So you can see it's glowing. It's like a purplish light. So you can see this. Obviously, the camera can see it. You can see it in a dark room, but your camera can now see like down the end of the hallway, and like it's a little bit more of a violet color, purplish type color.
You got like a blue aura
Yep.
around it right now.
Right. And then
Yeah.
also this one actually has infrared, which I just turned on. So you can also have the infrared and the ultraviolet. So full spectrum. So the lighting is almost more important than the camera. People are like, they go out and buy the most expensive camera and then buy no lighting or very inexpensive lighting. The lighting is really the key to success of recording video in the dark.
Well, that's the thing is like, you know, you see like these little cameras and they're like, oh, the light's already included. You know, the infrared's there. Well, that's great. But if I turn on the infrared that came with this camera, I might see you in the dark.
Yeah.
And a little bit past. I turn these on, I can see the entire room.
How much did you spend on the lights?
The
Just
lights?
The lights.
These ones, I don't think were very much. I got them on Amazon. I want to say pretty inexpensive, like $10, $15 a piece, maybe.
Yeah, $10, $15.
If that.
And that changes the whole game when you do your video work, the whole entire game. Because right now, if you turn it off and you take these lights off his camera, you'll probably see maybe to the cameras or maybe you. You put those lights on, he can see the whole entire room.
Most of those cameras with a built-in night shot, they usually come with like 2, maybe 4
Of the
LED infrared lights in
Yeah.
them. I mean, you've got, what, 200 lights on there now?
Yeah, pretty close.
So
Yeah.
you got 200 diodes compared to
4.
4.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a great...
On most cases, I only use one at a time, and it's more than enough for one room.
Yeah.
If we do a lot bigger rooms, and, you know, like when we were in Cooperstown, and the rooms were a lot bigger, I would turn both on. It would get a little bit further away.
And you could save battery life and switch between them.
Yeah. Plus, because they move, you know, I might be able to take one and turn it one way, turn one the other way, so it gets a little wider of a view at the same time.
So let's move on to something a little bit more rich for our blood and talk to Travis. Travis is our member with the thermal imaging.
Yes, I have
Travis, by the way, you look like you just came from a Beach Boys concert.
vibe I was going for.
Yeah.
Beach Boys concert in a graveyard.
So what I have here, it's just a FLIR unit. It's an actual FLIR name brand unit that you can buy for you can get for Android or iOS. I got it for my my phone. I have my phone on just a little rig here, but when you plug it in and you download the app, it's pretty much plug and play, and you have a pretty substantial FLIR infrared, you know, heat signature camera. This is a lot more affordable than the standalone units. You could spend thousands on those. I think I spent like $300 on this, and you can get them down like $200 now. I think they have.
If you go with the one version down from the newest one.
Correct.
Which is probably what that is now.
Yeah, this is a year or two old now. So.
If you go with that version, you can get them for a little under $200 now.
Which is a heck of a lot more affordable than buying the standalone units. But I brought this out. I told the wife I bought this to check my beehives. Oop, there it goes.
Which it does well too, I'm sure.
Does, yes, but it was pretty much purpose bought for, you know, investigation, and then we brought it out at Rucker. And
we do have a clip of the one from Rutgers. We actually got it to work now.
Oh, sweet.
So we will throw that up right now. In the center of the screen, you're going to see
I'm not
red
sure
and
who,
yellow figure.
I'm not sure who it was, but, you know, not that it matters, but.
Yeah, but that's an actual person. You're just watch in front of them. That not playing? Or?
If you place your hand on it, any spirit here, we invite you to touch any one of these.
All right, so we'll play that one more time.
Okay, so tell us what exactly we're looking at. It's a person, right?
You're going to see that person standing in the center. If you look directly in front of them on their left.
Yes. Okay. The bottom left
you're
of the
going to
screen.
see a child height, very, very cold figure real quick. It's only like maybe a frame, not even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just watch that again, And remember, this is where we were talking to the child on the second floor in Rutgers.
Yes.
Okay.
Any fear to, we invite you.
I saw it.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about that, for those who, I think most people kind of know what thermal imaging is. I mean, because people are tech savvy compared to like 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But essentially, Travis's device, basically, it's a camera, but it's also heat activated. So he can look at, you see the different colors based on different temperature ranges. So what's great about him is that you can, like you said, you can look at beehives, which that's a great application for it. But people also use them like electricians, that don't they? They look to see if
Yes.
there's hot spots in the wall. The fire department,
Yep.
don't
we
they
use
look to
that.
look for hot spots in the wall if there's something going on?
We use them for a lot of stuff. I mean, we use them for hot spots. We're looking for possible victims within the house, and we also use them for if we're doing a rescue out in the woods.
Exactly. So they're completely useful, but they always seem to find other applications outside of their intended use, and the paranormal happens to be one of those. So what's really cool about that is essentially you can see the person outlined, and then essentially I think one of the best uses of this in the paranormal I ever saw was, I think it was an episode of Ghost Hunter, wasn't it? Where there was a picture in the locker. There was a picture. There was like a thermal image of someone that had like a helmet on or something, or looked like a soldier that was in there, and it raised its hand up or something. I remember that from an episode of Ghost Hunters like years and years and years ago.
That was like first or second season.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So what we did with it, when we were with our other group, we had somebody donated this ones that you put on your head. They're actually the ones that the fire department would use. So you basically have your fire helmet on, and you would put these on almost like one of those
VR goggles?
Yeah, VR goggles, exactly. And we were doing this warehouse one time, and we were recording it. So we had the feed going into like our recorder, and we recorded. We looked up in the beam. There's a giant raccoon walking up the beam. So not only does it look for paranormal, but it will protect you from predators. Because had we known that thing was walking up and following us on the beams, I mean, that could have dropped on
Damn
our heads or
trash
anything.
pile.
Now we knew it was there. So we're like, let's just leave this room. Bats is another thing.
Yeah.
We saw the bats all nested. So, I mean, there's a safety thing for us, too, as well.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we go into old warehouses and stuff. It's a good idea to have something like that, to take a look around,
Yeah.
see if there's any other critters in there besides us.
But see the difference
Before we
too,
go in there?
where it works good for paranormal, is when you see raccoons or bats, their heat signatures are going to be
Red
in
or
the reds and orange and stuff
Yeah,
because
they're
they're
warm. Yeah.
Whereas that little movement you saw with that was almost blue.
Yeah, it was
because it was so much colder
Yep.
than the rest
very
of the
dark
area.
blue. That denoted
Yep.
a huge absence of heat there.
And that was kind of cool. So most people look like that and said, oh, I just saw a blue blur. But for people like us, who've been in the paranormal for a number of years, we look for things like that. And when we're doing, you have to also take in consideration the things that were going around. We're doing a spirit communication session. We believe we're speaking with a child. So there's a lot of stuff going around. Then all of a sudden that little blue shadow comes running by. So there's a little bit more relevance to it.
If you
Yes.
hear right before or right at the same time it appears, I think it was Kevin saying, "We invite you to touch somebody,"
Yeah.
and that's
when it ran
the exact
across.
same time that it appeared.
Right.
They didn't
So-
touch me.
So there you go. It just leads to show that we would consider that a finding, and then we would all review that as a group, and maybe bounce it off some people too outside of it. And if we could all concur on it, we would bump it up to evidence.
Yep.
And that's our piece of evidence. But everything, even when we hear something say hi or hello or I'm coming to get you, whatever, we always consider that a finding, and we bounce it off the group and want to get everyone's opinion. What do you guys think? What do you hear? And if we all collectively agree upon it, then we bump that up into the old evidence file, and that will be considered evidence.
Yeah.
For our viewers, that was the first time we've actually put that video out public. Was right now, so you got to watch that, and also there was the first time some of our group members had actually seen that. So
Yeah.
Me. I forgot. Actually, we talked about this, but
Yeah.
must have been in
we couldn't get it
passing.
running.
Yeah, it must have
Yeah.
been passing. So that was kind of good to see that. So that will actually record right to the app.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it probably records to your
My phone,
to the
my
actual
videos.
phone.
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
And the funny thing was, I didn't see it live. I didn't.
You don't a lot of
catch it.
times. That's
Yeah.
the thing. You got to go back and look at your
I
stuff.
went
People-
back and I was looking at hours because we were at Rutgers for what that night, 4 or 5
Yeah.
hours, or whatever. And I was just looking, and it was so quick.
Yeah.
You know, it. Wait a minute, I think I saw something there. I rewound
Yeah.
it, and then I sent it to Chris,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. It was cool.
it was pretty cool.
History.
You know, especially if you listen. Like I said, you can hear. I invite you to touch somebody, and boom, there it is.
Pete just came in and said, "You bastards left me with the bats." Well, if you had the thermal imager, you would have seen the bat.
But you weren't on the third floor with me, Pete. When I turned my light on the camera, and all of a sudden all the bats went nuts up there.
Maybe if you spent the $200 on that device in the app instead of antiques, Pete.
I actually have thermal video of the bats flying at Chris. So
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
We'll have to show that one the next time. So.
Just another piece. But again,
Well, we could show that as a difference between, little movements of heat versus the movement of the cold.
But again, these are things that are really for more advanced paranormal investigating. As you kind of get involved with it, some people are going to go out and drop thousands upon thousands of dollars. And to be really honest with you, speaking of paranormal equipment, there's been nothing in the last several years that's even like remotely interests me in getting. I'm like, oh, I got to get it. I mean, I bought some stuff. Don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like I bought another spirit box. I just thought it was kind of cool and stuff, but it was nothing new. It probably almost did everything the same. So there was a time when ghost hunting equipment was coming out every year. And oh my God, I got to go get that. And you're buying it, and you're like, oh my God, this new thing, I got to go try it out. And now I'm kind of like, I run through it all, and I'm just kind of like, I mean, there's really nothing. The portal is kind of like the next big thing. But again, that's nothing new. It's pretty much a spirit box that they made to look with lights and a little amplifier and it echoes. Yeah. It's still nothing.
It's just cleaning it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing
Makes it a little
earth-shattering.
easier when you're actually live doing it.
Right.
Than running the ghost box on its own.
Right.
So let's back up a little and go a little bit cheaper. Not a whole lot cheaper,
How
but
cheaper?
it's still cheaper. And let's talk about these.
What the heck is that thing?
trail cam.
It's a trail cam.
Oh.
A lot of hunters have these. People with a lot of property just kind of put out to
Finding
kind of watch
Bigfoot.
their animals. stuff
People with
like that.
beehives,
These things are great. You throw in the batteries, you throw in an SD card, and you can strap them to whatever, put them on a tripod. I think this one has a tripod mount on it. And then it's got infrared. It can run photos. It can do multiple shot photos and video.
I actually have ones that will send it right to your phone as soon as it happens.
This one's not because I'm cheaper. This one was like $30 or $40. So I'd rather
That's
pay
not
30
bad.
or $40 and pop it out and
Yeah.
go that route.
That's not bad, though. We have to look into one of those.
I'm not sure what it is.
If Vicky's listening,
We'll talk
it cost
about
me
it
$5.
Vicky,
No.
cover your ears. So let's talk about something else that some people believe in, some people don't. And these are
A little more on the metaphysical.
dowsing rods.
Yes.
So let's bring you.
I'm not really good with them. I'm not the one that usually uses these. This would be Vicky's forte.
Yep. Now,
You know.
a lot of difficulties with dowsing rods is depending on how you're holding your hands.
Yes.
You can make them cross.
Yeah.
That's why this is kind of a hokey kind of thing that everyone's like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But
It's
I can tell you it does work. I mean, these ones are made at home. And I'll actually do a little craft session for you while these guys are talking, too. These ones I made in about 2 minutes at home today. Just brass coat hangers, bent into shape.
now will the brass work as well as like these ones that are copper?
Yep.
Will they? Okay.
I've actually used a set almost identical to this, same type of coat hanger.
Okay.
And I used that on an investigation in which the ones you have has those grips on them.
Yes.
That allows them to
The,
free.
the little flow,
Yeah.
little freer. Yeah.
These ones don't. So the investigation I was on in using these, I was getting yes and no answers using, basically doing cross, uncross.
Mhm.
And I was gripping them as hard as I could, and I could feel my skin twisting by how these were actually moving.
Wow.
So again, it's kind of a hokey thing that not a lot of people believe in, but you can also get the same results using apple tree branches, which is the way they used to find water. And you could use these to find water too.
Yeah.
That is the only other problem with that is if there's running water underneath an
Well,
old
kind of like
building.
when we were in St. Johnsville one. There was water running and there was water in that area.
Yep.
And to be able to use something like that there would be a lot more difficult.
Yep.
Because of the water's going to throw them off.
And that's just something
So-
that we learn about. We got to figure out what equipment can be used in what situation. If you're in a very old house with very old electrical wiring, obviously you're not going to be using a lot of EMF.
But then
because
again, we can use them as a base.
you can use them
That's
as a
where
base, but I've been in a lot of houses where this thing's pegged.
Yes, but at least, but that's what we kind of do too when we first go in. We'll run around with one of those and see if it's going to peg.
Yep.
Or if it's going to stay zero. You know, because if it's pegging everywhere, like you said, in an old house, you're not going to want to use them to try and use it for reading.
Vicky did pop in and say, yes, you have to be very careful. Hold your elbows to your sides and keep it very still when you're using these dowsing rods.
Yeah. See, my hands aren't still enough. They're not steady enough to sit there and hold them without them moving around on their own.
Thank God you're not a surgeon.
So, no.
Rich, Dr. Ford will be doing your surgery today. No! It's just a vasectomy. Don't worry about it. Yes, I've never. The dowsing rides to me is, I don't know. It's something I'm still exploring. I'm still kind of, you know. I just still think that you can either with your, I don't know.
Yeah.
Your mind can think and your hands can react and, you know, you can make them. It's like the Ouija board. And that's the one thing. It's like you're doing a Ouija board. It's, oh my God, it says yes, no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is someone actually moving it? Now, if I'm doing it myself and I'm on the thing is moving around like that, then that's one thing. But when I got 3 people on there, how do I know one of them isn't actually pushing it around?
Yeah.
So I mean that's the whole problem with me. But
Then if
I'm
you're
open
using
to
it by yourself, then we got a whole other session of a show to talk about.
One
So.
of the things I've always
True.
thought about doing, and I'm probably going to end up doing it, is I'm going to take a block of wood and drill a couple holes in it and make a stationary rack. So these things will just sit out there with them pointing straight out, and we can just set them on a table, nobody touching them.
Do you think they would work the same?
Who knows?
I'm not.
That's
well,
why we're investigators. We do a lot of research.
you're thinking
That's
maybe
true.
that the person is the conduit for the energy.
Well, that's
it's like kind of
well,
goes
that's-
into you and then into the rods and they react.
well, that's what I'm wondering.
Well, what if we did that and then put like a REM pod or something next to it, increase the energy around it?
But what you do is you take someone like Vicky that is more steady with hers, then you do yours with yours, and the ramp, together.
Or like one of those car battery jump packs. Hook those up to it.
Yeah.
I still think that that EM pumps are a great piece of equipment because I always got better evidence by filling the room with energy. I mean, if a spirit's going to do something, hypothetically, they're going to need some energy because they're not in organic form. They're energy, right? You can't destroy energy. So their soul or their energy, whatever, is there. And basically, in order for it to do something, sometimes it needs some juice, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's what the EM pumps do. They light things up. I usually get better audio sessions with it.
Saves the batteries on our equipment too.
Yeah, saves the battery
Yeah.
because they'll go after that thing instead of having to kill the battery. That thing's pumping out energy. They can just kind of bathe in the energy. You know what I mean? Versus have to the battery. The one thing about batteries though, that's really still this day I just can't get a grip on is how can my battery go to dead? Walk out of the room, turn my equipment on, and it's all back to full battery. I mean, how does that happen? I understand how batteries work. I'm an electrical engineer by degree, how they can drain and fill, but how can it just go to nothing, walk out, and now it's back up to something? I just, still, I'm trying to wrap my, I mean, I'm sure some people have theories on that. I'd love to hear it, but still to this day, just sort of like blows my mind. So.
Well, then again, a lot of what we do kind of blows my mind from time to time.
Yeah, it does. It does.
How do you sit there and have a machine tell you your name when you're not? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Okay,
man.
well, Chris, maybe, and then 2 seconds later, you're like, well, Chris who? And then all of a sudden it knows and it says it, and I'm like, the odds of that are a little.
Yeah, you think?
So
video is kind of the is the holy grail, and when we do investigating, we didn't do as much video as we should have. We were always doing pictures, but I really kind of impressed into the group. This is before Agent Paranormal. To the group video, we got to do more video. We got to capture stuff. If you want people to get credibility, what you're doing, you got to try to get more evidence because we're doing all this audio stuff. Things could be moving right around and behind us or next to sides of us, but no one's capturing anything. No one's got a recorder going to try to get this, like the shadows. I saw a shadow, but no one's filming anything. Get it on film, and it's a little more credible than saying you've seen like Rolling Hills. When we were doing Rolling Hills, I was watching down where the morgues are. I was watching shadows shooting in and out of the doorways and everything. I didn't have anything to record with. I didn't have the video. If I had this thing, I would have sat there pretty much the whole night on the floor, just like recording, But
Now, see,
Instead, we just watched it.
See, at the same time, I like using the video equipment. Like when we were at Rucker, we had the REM pod on the floor. You're asking questions. So I got kind of a picture of you and a picture of the REM pod. And you're saying, okay, go near it. And then you'd see the lights go up and blink.
Yeah.
Okay, go away. And the lights would turn off. Well, we could turn around and say, oh my God, they went on and off, went on and off. But the video is going to show it
Right.
more as a proof of
Right.
the other equipment we're using that it's doing what we want it to do.
That's why the paranormal shows are so interesting. They have all the gear. They actually provide you what happens through the video format.
Yeah.
You know, how exciting would a paranormal radio show be? We're doing an investigation. I think I see something. I think I heard something. I mean, how exciting would that be? Other than like we do, but it's.
War of the Worlds, and when Orson Welles did it, almost ended the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a little more tech savvy
Thank you for
now.
joining Arts and Crafts Time with Kevin. I hope you enjoyed how to make dowsing rods.
Look at pretty lights. Look at
All right, Travis,
Yes.
you were saying something?
I was just saying we're a little more tech savvy now that a radio show might not make people jump out of windows.
Nah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, we want to go back to 2000, early 21, and
Yeah, right.
so paranormal investigating these days is much different than it was 2 years ago. It's much different than it was 5 years ago, and way much different than it was 10 years ago. But again, people rely on us to come into their homes with experience. They want us to come in and be understanding, and listen to them, be trusting that you're not there to rob people. You're there to do something, and they expect you to come in with gear, equipment. They want you to kind of document or try to capture the stuff that you have. You really need all those, components. You come walking in, I'm going to do ghost hunting. You got a flashlight. You're like, all right, what's going to do? You come in and you have this type of stuff. Yeah, they want to see something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We used to do an investigation and then set up a consult after the investigation, and just like on Ghost Hunters, play the evidence for them, show them everything we had, and have that little scenario with them. And that was kind of like a, thank you, and here's what we found. And it was gratifying because a lot of times people would go from, oh my God, there's a demon in my house. It's like, stop watching the TV shows, okay? To like, wait a minute. It could be it could be a little girl. It could be a child spirit that was here, and then they're like, all of a sudden, oh no, we'll live with it. We're fine. We don't want it to go away.
That's one of the biggest things that always bothers me is everyone always does the whole, well, it's a little child spirit in my house. Well, demons like to take on the form of child spirits.
Oh no, don't go there.
It's like, yeah, the demons really want to do this whole thing to make them look innocent and everything. It's like, there are child spirits.
Yeah.
And you can't just say that every child spirit is a demon.
Yeah.
Because that you can't treat it that way.
Although I've known a lot of kids, and
Well, they're living.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Some of the living ones are close to the demon, so it's. I don't...
Because there was one of the places I used to work that I had actually experienced a child spirit there. When I was working there, they brought in another investigator to talk to some of the people that were living there, and basically they told him the story of a child spirit and all that, and he blatantly came out and said, "Oh, if it's a child spirit, it's a demon." It's like,
no.
these are younger kids that are living, like 18, 19-year-olds that are just first time away from home kind of thing, and they're living in this building, and you're going to tell them that the child spirit that people have seen in their rooms is a demon. It's like, you got to check yourself, man.
Yeah.
I don't care what movies you might have been the consult for,
But you don't even know if that even exists. That's the thing. We
It's all
talk about
theory.
that, and there's a more if you take the religious component out of it, there's negative, positive. It's like it comes to electrical energy, it comes to relationships with people, it comes to black, white, whatever. Everything's like negative, positive, whatever. So, there's positive spirits and there's negative spirits. That's as deep as I get. The whole demonic thing, I know people, like John Zaffis is a personal friend of mine, and he really deals with stuff that I have never come across, comprehended. I've come across some bad stuff, but not to the level that he gets involved. And you're talking a case that he would go into would take years to finish. years. That's dedication. And then you got it's almost like you have to be like a monk or something and study the mystic arts, or basically in order to get to the level he has, because and sometimes the best action is no action. And that's what I tell people in paranormal investigation. Well, what should I do? Well, don't freak out. Sometimes the best thing to do is not let it know that it knows. Don't let it be known. Don't give it recognition. If you don't give it recognition, it'll go away. Like you talk again, a child. A child's pouting, and they're going to pout and pout until, eventually they're going to stop because you're not paying attention to them. They're just going to go to the room or do whatever. And that's the same when it comes to the paranormal sometimes. And I think a lot of times when I was talking to like John Zeffis about demonology cases and demonic, and a lot of times people are like, well, how come he isn't just blurting out all the details of cases when people talk about stuff? Because then he's giving things recognition. And it's better to not give things recognition.
Yeah.
Ignore it. Some people say, well, it's better to be liked or hated than to not be known at all. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. You walk into a room, people love you or they hate you, but at least they know you're there and they deal with you. But if they all walk in and you walk in, they all ignore you, that's worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
like,
funny
"Damn
because you see a lot of these older religions, and they don't like even Native Americans don't like to say, like skinwalkers, they don't mention the name because by mentioning the name, you give it recognition.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot of truth to that. If you don't recognize it, you don't give it power.
It's like COVID. you guys laugh, but I'm trying to be serious on a note. If we all basically, we're giving COVID the power to transmit by basically, basically saying, no, it doesn't exist. And we're all doing our thing. And the next thing you know, we got a pandemic. And then basically the CDC saying if everyone just kind of goes their own way and then we don't have any. There's a guy I was listening to on TV once. He goes, if everybody went for some predetermined time and had no human contact with anyone at all, the virus would just sort of like, where's it going to go? It's got nobody to infect. You know what I mean? It's just it's not being recognized. It's just going to die. However, my only argument there is like, this is America, dude. No, it ain't going to happen, man. We need to like go to dinner. We need to like go grocery shop. We need to go have brews with our friends. I mean, it's a tough thing. But that's
all
kind of
sides of this conversation. You need to do this. You need to do this. No, you need to do this. You need to do this. Rich is like, shut up.
Down here.
So
Recognition, man. And
I know,
that's again.
I know we're getting short time-wise, I think. But I'm noticing one more piece of visual that's up on the screen right behind you that we haven't talked about.
That. Yeah. So as you can see, there's little green dots behind me. What we actually have set up behind me is a laser grid. It's just a laser pointer that is broken into multiple little dots. We use that usually in a dark hallway, something where it's a big room. We'll set up a camera with it, and that kind of allows for if anything steps in front of it, it breaks the beams. Or you can actually see the beams on something.
Different patterns on that, too.
Yeah.
Right? You can turn it in like almost like, those are the dots, but you can also turn it into like a grid of like a tic-tac-toe board, can't you, as well?
I'm not sure.
This one, the head is actually broken on it. But so all I got is dots. So that's what you're getting is dots.
Now those things, people are looking at it, it's like, what are you going to do with that? That's why I had my first paranormal. I witnessed my first shadow person was with the laser grid in a church. Laser grid set up near the altar, up onto the top balcony, and something stood up and ran through the grid. And what's great is you can track it as it's breaking through the dots and everything. You can actually watch it. And then basically, if it was just a dark room and no grid, you might see some movement, but with that thing, it gives it the whole shape.
Yeah.
The other thing is with that theory is you're not only going to see the shape, but sometimes, since each of those dots is like almost like individual energy, if it is a shadow person that can absorb that kind of energy, you'll just see the shape of it because the dots are being absorbed. The dots are just gone. There's a lot of times we've used these with a fog machine as well. So there's another little...
No disco ball, though.
Paranormal rave.
Yeah.
The paranormal is like a big redneck party. It's like, let's see, what can we use now?
We got a fog machine. We got a blowtorch and a camera.
And a DJ.
And DJ, yes.
But, I mean, we've got all this visual stuff. We've it's important, have a flashlight, stuff like that. But the biggest thing that we always tell people is keep your senses about you, because your 5 senses are the biggest thing to help you when you're investigating. Rich and I, we went up to, it was a hotel up in somewhere in like inlet.
Weekend away, guys, or
Well, it was me, Rich, Maeve, Pete.
Oh, okay.
Pete was actually sick when he went up there for that one, but he made his wife drive him.
That's right,
all
yeah.
the way up there. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and Pete's like, "No, drive me up there. I
Up
don't
towards
care if
inland.
I've got." He had pneumonia, and he's like, "No, I'm going."
Wow.
But we couldn't get anything, and none of our equipment, like nothing EMF wise, no photos, nothing. But there was every single one of us on the 2nd floor saw a shadow down at the end of the hall, and it was peeking in and out.
Wow.
So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of times where our equipment's no good. And we're not going to walk out of there with something we can show somebody and say, there might be ghosts there. But, I mean, experiences are huge for all of us. I mean, again, we can't go and show a skeptic that. But to me, there's a lot of times where I don't care. I'm in there to let them know, whether or not they have something going on there.
Yes.
And the good thing about that was the employee was actually on the floor with us and saw it too.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the other real keys about paranormal investigation is, and I say this all the time, and God knows how many times I've been in investigations, and people talk and talk and talk. And I always tell people, be quiet. We're investigating. Be quiet. Because we have very sensitive audio equipment.
Yeah.
You could be in the floor up above, and the floor down below, and you're talking, we can hear you, And then when we go to listen to audio, we have all that noise we have to listen through in order to listen to what we want that could possibly be evidence. So again, another key, basically being quiet. Good paranormal investigation teams are quiet. And the one thing we do, and I think we did it there too, is we did dead time.
Yep.
Where we pretty much just set up some video equipment and like the laser grid. We went on different floors. We just sat on the floor and we just didn't say a word.
Yep.
And if we did talk, it was like, hey, did you see it? We whispered. And we just did that for like an hour or so. Listen to the building. The building was like the heart of it. Listen to its creaks, it's the wind. Listen to everything first to get an idea of what's going on in the environment around you. Then basically we could then tell if we can hear footsteps or we can have everything. And we had walkies, I think. So if we hear something, it's like, hey, is that you?
Well, that place, that's actually when we did Dead Time. I did Gansfeld with that one too. I went into one of the rooms where I did a Gansfeld experiment. For those that don't know what that is, that's basically where a lot of shows have used like ping pong balls and you flood a red light on it. We had a pair of goggles that would flood the light on, and then you throw in some noise canceling headphones that are just playing white noise. So basically what it does is it closes off all your senses, but at the same time, it just makes them nuts because they're trying to focus on everything, but they can't because it's red light, and then you can't focus with your hearing. So what that does is it beefs up your other senses, the sense of feel and your sense of surrounding. So after about 10 minutes of doing Gansfeld, you can start to sense when people are near you. I actually did this experiment at Salem Con once as like we do this kind of stuff. So I just sat behind our table at the con, and I was just sitting there so people would walk up and ask what he's doing, and people are telling him what's going on. And it was about 15 minutes in, I think it was Pete, came walking behind the table and walked in front of me. And as he was doing that, I reached out and went like this because I sensed that somebody was near me. And as Pete's walking by me, I smack him, and he's like, how'd you do that? And then it's like, that's what Gansfeld does. Again, that's just a theory, but, I mean, you can kind of sense when there's something around you. I did that experiment at Rutgers, too, in which I set up my digital camera on a tripod facing me, and then I put it on a remote control button. So every time I started sensing something was around me, I hit the button so it took a picture.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things. You can become quite creative and do things. I mean, we got some great evidence off of that. I mean, Pete one time had some audio recorders, and he came with the concept. He's like, I'm going to sit and record a bunch of questions that are specific to the Rucker. And he would take that and then put it on loop, put it up in a room, like up on the third floor where we weren't going to be at and all, and put another recorder up there just recording. So there was playing tracks, and so he was communicating, and he got responses. Some of the best EVPs that we've got in our presentations and lectures, he got doing that himself. So that, you can be very creative and do some stuff. And plus, we can cover a lot more ground if we got audio recorders and then one's looping and asking questions on different floors. We're doing like multiple audio sessions all at the same time.
Well, you're downstairs eating pizza.
Yeah. There you go. Well, let's go out and eat pizza. What do you mean? Aren't I supposed to be investigating? Oh, it's all on autopilot. We go to pizza. Everything's automated. And even basically like static cams. And we also, with the DVRs, you can set them up and go into the other mansion and basically just let it run and not have any human in there. And then just kind of control and look at the cameras and see what's going on and monitor things. Sometimes that's the best results. Because if you take a look at some of the evidence that we've seen in the past in places like castles or buildings or whatever it is, a lot of times it's recorded by one of the security cameras. Yep. There's no one there, and something gets recorded. Yep. You get all the humans in there, and all of a sudden nothing happens because... Yeah.
That was our St. Johnsville case. We went in there with everything. We were there for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And we had a spirit box session going. We kind of got some stuff. But everything we've gotten was from the homeowner's DVR system.
Yeah.
Just their security systems around the building. It was like once or twice a week. They're sending me stuff and saying, check this out. Check this out. And I'm like, you guys want to be in the group, or
you want to start a branch of Agent Paranormal?
I still have a few of those videos on my computer, and man, I watched them, a couple of them, over and over and over, like one clip for like 45 minutes an hour, trying to figure everything I could do to debunk it, and I just couldn't.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But that's what I'm trying to do. Is that you're trying to debunk it until you can't.
Well, I think we're just about up. We're a little over, but we wouldn't be Agent Paranormal if we weren't a little.
No,
over.
What's the longest we've gone? Like an hour and 45?
Yeah,
it was like one of the first ones.
We almost went 2 hours one time, and it's like Todd was in the back going, "What's going on?
I didn't sign up for this."
It was like one of the first ones, wasn't it?
He hasn't texted me yet. He's been walking behind us. He usually texts me. He's like, "Wrap it up."
Well, when you get guests on there, you get John Zaffis on there. You want to keep him there for 3-4 hours if you could, picking that guy's mind.
Yeah.
You know what talking like so.
I'm looking forward to when things go back to normal. I'd love to. I've talked to him on the show and this and that, but I'd love to meet him in person.
Great guy, really great guy. Just one word of advice to John Zaffis: great guy. Don't get on his bad side. You'll know it. You'll know it.
Oh, when he's not in the public though, he's so fun.
He is. But in order to get on his bad side, you need to do something really bad. So, but other than that, honestly, people love him. He's great at cons. I've been to a few when he was there, and he was pretty much the life of the party. People just like him. He's really good with people. Thank you, John Zaffis, for everything that you do to influence everything that we do, and many other paranormal investigators out there. Follow in your footsteps. Not to that level, because we do it as a hobby and we have full-time jobs. This guy does it just with a passion to a level that
his
you walk in to like a case where you've got demonic entities going on. It's a special kind of person to do that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, he's got that the talent too, beyond anything, most of us could ever comprehend.
Yeah. He's a legend.
He had great teachers.
Yeah. It's in his blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's learned. But he's figured out a lot on his own too.
Yep.
They instilled a lot of education knowledge in him. He learned a lot on his own, and then he's developed a lot of his own things too as well. Again, experience. I've learned some new stuff last year that I didn't do before.
Look at it this way. What was it? Hunting, Connecticut. That case, I didn't know that. Ed and Lorraine were on that case until Carmen told us.
Yeah.
I knew that as John Zaffis' case.
Yeah.
So, that really shows his growth right there. Okay, well, that was John Zaffis' case.
Yeah. Well, he's he was their lead investigator. You know, they would come to the Warrens, and the Warrens would send out, they would go out and check it out and make a decision based on if it's a real need, if it's a necessity, if it's really something going on. And then they would bring John in, the lead investigator. He's kind of like project manager, you know what I mean? Go in there and kind of run the thing and you know, and work it. And they relied a lot on him to do that. So it's a lot of trust. And wow, had I been born back in their era and knew about all this, I could have been the first ghost.
You would have moved to Connecticut.
Yeah.
Connecticut's a little too expensive for my blood. Beautiful state. Love to visit. I like visiting all the states, but there's a lot I just wouldn't live in just because of the weather or just the economy. Too much money.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah. So you guys good? Can we
I think
chalk
that's
this
good.
up to another successful episode of Agent
Yeah.
Paranormal?
I want to
think so.
thank the viewers for watching this episode of Agent Paranormal Academy Remote Learning. We hope to see you next time on the show. I don't know what we're discussing next, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We might go do another academy, but
Sometime we should do like academy and do more of like all the metaphysical stuff.
We could, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of getting into a little bit more than like, learning, first timer stuff, but
Yeah. Bring in Peter for that.
yeah.
We get Peter. We got Maeve that can we bring on. Hopefully, we can get her to call in. Maybe she's the empath in the group.
Yeah. What about getting a hold of like Chris or someone along them lines too? Maybe
Yep.
for a quick phone and on their perspective on it.
We can certainly do that. I mean, we just basically started to do a lot more of our own content versus bringing on the paracelebs or
Yes.
guests.
Well,
And
I'm
the reason by that was kind of by design, and that was basically we wanted to kind of showcase the community a little bit of our talents and what we do, and
Yes.
so that basically that they know there's a source out there if they ever come across someone who needs help or they have a problem, and just basically to help educate them and let them know that there is a very active group out there that's been in the trenches
Yes.
doing this for a number of years. And then basically we're going to start bringing back paracelebs and people known in that field and kind of sprinkle them into episodes.
Yeah.
I think it's just as beneficial for the viewers as it is to me because I always learn stuff.
Yeah.
We'd like to get some authors and some other people like that we haven't talked to before to
Yeah.
kind of in and talk about books and stuff like we'd love to get somebody in and talk about shadow people and the hat men and all that kind of stuff. And remember, just paranormal doesn't mean just ghosts and things that go bump in the night. It also means the UFOs. It also means
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot, aliens,
Which the thermal would be perfect for.
Cooper Chabra, all of
Yeah.
that. Anything that's not normal is considered to be the paranormal. What's interesting is every year we start you used to have the paranormal over here and the normal over here, but every year we're almost getting like this. At some point where it's all going to be normal, like Bigfoot's going to be at Macy's before it closes, shopping.
Actually, I talked to Nicole today, and she wants to go up to Whitehall and do a backpacking Bigfoot hunt.
I think
that would be amazing.
I think we ought to do an episode of that, in the field. And once this COVID thing lifts and the weather gets nicer, I think we will do some stuff out in the field, a little bit more of it. We had a good time doing that.
I know we were
You know what I
talking
mean?
about out Lake George area.
Champ?
What? No, not Champ. There's a you know more on it. There's a section of the woods.
There's a KOA campground that's actually haunted.
Oh.
So I've always wanted to go to the campground with a group and we can camp out, have a good time, and
I'll bring my trailer. It'll be a party.
Just as long as it's the Blair Witch Project. Right, I wake up, it's like, I find, where's Chris? There's some teeth I got in my hand. Where's Chris?
Travis is standing in the corner just talking to himself.
Yeah, I mean,
Chris is on the video with snot running down his nose. I'm sorry.
again, we want to thank our viewers for watching. Again, reach out to us if there's anything that you want us to discuss. Maybe you have something you want to discuss. You want to come on the show, be one of our guests. Just reach out.
I'd love to meet some of the local people that have, as far as the metaphysical or any of that type of stuff.
Yep,
You know.
definitely. So reach out to us. You can reach out to us on Agent Paranormal on our Facebook. You can reach out to Disruption Network. Todd will get us in touch with everything. We want to thank Disruption Network as always. Again, if you have an idea for a show of your own, reach out to Disruption Network. They have everything set up for you.
don't forget to follow us on Facebook.
Follow us on Facebook. Follow Disruption Network, a Sammy Award-winning show on Disruption Network.
This place is amazing.
And they also
so-
do have a podcast that is running right now. It's Todd, what's the name of that? What's that? Unbreakable. Yeah, that's the Donato Danny Nappy story. I listened to the first episode. this is phenomenal. I mean, it's only the first episode. The next episode is airing tonight at midnight. Tune in to that. They've got, I don't know, it's on Spotify, it's on iTunes, it's on anything that you need to stream any kind of podcast like that. It's on there.
Nice.
So listen to that. And until then, we want to thank you for watching Agent Paranormal. We'll scare you later.
Stay safe.
Thank you.